It's time for the B-A-Q-A. Hey, the B-A-Q-A. What you say? The B-A-Q-A with Mandy. The B-A-Q-A with Tiffany. The B-A-Q-A. Hey. We're back in black in the studio, in the stew.
Back in the stew.
So we have, if you have questions, we have some answers. But as a gentle reminder, we're not your mama. No. We're not your lawyer, your doctor, we are your favorite cute black girl internet cousins who know a thing or two about money and career and business and things, but you don't pay us. So that means we are not legally bound to answer your questions and also too, we just want you to take what we say with a grain of salt and then lean into the people that you do pay. You could run it past them. So that being said, if you have questions, just send them on in. Questions about business, about career, about money, about life, you can send them on in.
About vaginas, apparently. We talk about that now.
You can send it to brownambitionpodcast.com. Click Ask Us Anything. We're the BA Podcast on Twitter, right? And then Brown Ambition Podcast on IG. So you can send us messages and we might answer your question. We're going to do money questions today. You want me to read the first one, Mandra, or you want to read it?
Yeah, let's go for it. Jump on in there. It's been so long and you guys have so many questions. So
yes,
I think we need to start chipping away at these. Mm-hmm.
So we have a question from Nyan. She says, "Hi, Tiffany and Mandy. I'm a huge fan of your podcast and have learned quite a lot from you both. I'm considering getting a new airline credit card for the benefit of the flight promotional credit and free check bag, which would otherwise require a $30 fee. This would completely cover the airfare for an upcoming trip. I already have a few cards though, and I'm working on paying off the balances. Would it be a wise idea to get the new airline credit card for only the promotion? After the credit, I wouldn't use it further unless I should make a one-time small monthly payment on it to build credit or completely cancel it. Thanks, Nyan." I like that name, Nyan. That's pretty.
Yeah. Ooh, this is good. Because I actually was just on a plane, obviously. We both were. But I flew JetBlue to Costa Rica, and on the way back, that 50% discount on the $12 miniature kale salad that I have would have been nice with the JetBlue card. And then they wait until the last 10 minutes of the flight. Then they come through, they do the big announcement over the speaker. And I'm like, I'm trying to finish my movie, but fine, we'll listen to your credit card pitch. And they come down the aisle with the brochures, 65,000 miles, one-time offer on this flight, so it's super tempting. But I think what concerns me or just raises my my Mandy alert from her question is the fact that she already has cards she's trying to pay the balances off on. And that she says, I'll stop using it. But I kind of feel like that may not be the case. It's really easy to say that now, but you keep that card and then another trip's going to pop up. And it's well, I'll just put it on this card. I get the points. And then before you know it, you have another card with a balance that you're carrying. And unless it's a 0% intro APR, then you're going to end up paying interest on it. And it's just going to be you have to think about the money you'd be spending on interest at that point. Plus, those cards with the best benefits sometimes have high annual fees. I think our Chase Good Time card that we both have, the Chase Reserve, was the annual fee now $500, $400, something like that. It ain't cheap, So that's something that's just something that jumped out at me. What do you say, Tiff?
I say I'm not a big fan of cards for specific companies, like card just for Express, card just for Gap, because, the benefits are limited typically to just that one organization. I remember you, Mandy, you were telling me how I was renovating and you were like, are you going to get a Home Depot card? And I considered it because I was buying a ton of stuff from Home Depot, but I ended up using my Chase Good Time card. It's really called the Chase Venture, but me and Mandy just be teasing.
No, it's not. It's called the Chase Reserve.
Oh, look at it. You see, that's why Mandy calls it the Chase Good Time, because she doesn't know it, because she knows I don't know it. I'm like the Chase run and get him, fly with me card. So what I like about it is that, and I use that instead of the Home Depot, is that I wanted the benefits to last beyond just shopping at Home Depot, because I knew it was just a few months of me using Home Depot to renovate. And so with those purchases, I was able to get cash back. I was able to earn points for a flight. I was able, I typically if I'm going to get a credit card, which it sounds like you don't need right now because you have cards you're paying off. But let's just say that you didn't have credit cards that you were paying off, or you have cards and they're already paid off and you were looking for a new card to help with your travel, I would look for an overall general card where the benefits are more wider reaching, not for one specific airline, but like a card that you can get cash back, you can earn points, you can earn points to like hotels. That's what I would suggest. But right now, honestly, I would slow down as you're paying down. I would slow down on getting a card, just because you don't want to start to the best piece of advice when you're in a ditch is to put the shovel down. And so that credit card is a shovel, and I want you to keep digging. Nyan. So hopefully,
another thing to think about is like those cards often require you to spend money to get that benefit. Mm-hmm. It's like if you spend $3,000 in the first 90 days.
Yes.
So like, can you afford that much? Because that's more than what a $300 flight credit, would be. So I would say, nah, pass. Mm-hmm. So you can, pay for the flight the one time and, think about what Tiff said about getting like a more general travel card, especially if you're not traveling
get your
back
other
and
credit
forth.
stuff under control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for your question, Miss Nyan. It's a pretty name.
Hey, BA fam. Squarespace is everything to sell anything. Squarespace has the tools you need to get your businesses off the ground, including e-commerce, templates, inventory management, a simple checkout process, and secure payments. We use Squarespace over here for Brown Ambition, okay? Whatever you sell, Squarespace has merchandising features to make your products look their best online, connect with your audience, and generate revenue through gated member-only content. Present your videos from YouTube, Vimeo, and Animoto on your Squarespace site. This is clutch. See how your visits, unique visitors, and page use trend over time. Gain insights into the top traffic sources, products, device types, browsers, and operating systems by visit. Okay? You own all the content you put on the Squarespace platform. That's critical. They offer one-click data portability, so head to squarespace.com/brownambition for a free trial, okay? And when you're ready to launch, use offer code BROWNAMBITION and save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/brownambition, offer code BROWNAMBITION.
All right, BA fam, we are back with a juicy question that immediately I was like, let's do this. I know we have lots to say on this matter. And both of us have sisters and families. And yeah, it can get a little challenging when there's income disparities within the family. So let's get into it. This comes from someone who would like to be called my dear sister. And she says, I have a sister who I adore. She and her husband have 2 young children. They recently made a big transition and moved halfway across the country to be closer to us, her family. She has always struggled with her finances, holding on to what she has since she is a major spender but not a budgeter. They could be considered wealthy, but they live extremely paycheck to paycheck due to some lavish choices they continue to make over and over. Something major happens and they can't pay their bills or afford the expense, so she comes to my mom and dad, who are retired, to ask for help. But recently, she's begun asking me for help. I'm 10 years younger than her, live alone, and have a high-paying job, and I'm putting in the work to end the cycle of debt for my family and my own life. I have a financial advisor who I work closely with to budget and set myself up for the future. I have tried to talk to my sister about getting help and working with someone, but she's not open to it at all. She feels like she just needs to earn more. What should I do? I want to help her because she's family, but I also don't want to enable her because she refuses to get help. I just don't know what to do. Oh, dear sister.
What was that song you were singing before? Let it go.
Oh, yes, let it go. Which is like, because when I was thinking about trying to educate people who are not ready to be educated, it's like a losing battle at that point. You know, it's one thing if they come to you and ask, but when you, and I have been that person, when you think that you know better and you want to coach them and you can see how clear it is if they just listen to me and it's family, there's just something ingrained in our DNA to just not absorb anything that our siblings say to us, like, you know, and I don't think that you need to be the hero in that situation. And it's going to cause you more stress to try to fix it, you know, and I don't know, I found myself in that position, especially what we do, Tiff, like we talked about that before. Y'all listen to us. Y'all think we're real smart. You send us your questions. I don't get any from my family, not even my husband, you know? And I just kind of like, oh, they'll find out on their own in their own way. But it's different, right? When it comes to your pockets, and they don't want your advice. They want money. So what do you say to that, Tiff? I think both of us have had situations where you have been
I have. And honestly, even with my own sister, baby Lisa, where I have to set a boundary. And I literally set one recently, like maybe like, less than 6 months ago. She called and I said, if this is to ask for money, I want this to be so important to you because this is last and final, like for life. And she was thought about it and she was like, so how's your day? I said, exactly. Because she wants that one good. I said, so I want you to ask yourself, is this my get out of jail free card? Like, you know? And she was like, I wasn't even confident. I said, okay, I'm just letting you know that like, so here's my rule. So this is literally what I tell all my sisters and my friends who I'm close enough that I would lend money to, even though I'm not a money lender. Typically, I'll just give you, like, if you're really needing it. Like, so my rule is, and this is what I told my baby sister, Lisa, is I told her, I said, the rule is you're not allowed to be homeless. You're not allowed to be hungry. Meaning, don't ever get to such a dire state that it would put you in physical peril, So like, if that's the case, obviously come to me because one, at the very least, you could always eat here and you can stay with me, So don't think like, oh, I got to be on my own and struggle through it all. Within reason, yes, I want you to look at yourself as your first line of defense, but don't go hungry or homeless. That's, we're not doing that here. But I cannot be your first, second, and third line of defense, And so it's okay for people to have bad credit for a little while. They'll live. It's okay for bills to be late. They'll live because that's the only way you're going to learn. Like you have to get sometimes back pushed up against the wall to then lean into yourself and be resourceful. I mean, I know your sister's older. My sister's the youngest out of 5. And if I'm being honest, we coddled her. We babied her. I am 9 years older than her. So, there's such a huge difference. So she's like, oh, the baby. Meanwhile, Lisa's a whole like 33.
Yeah. It's cute when she's 10.
I know, right? And so she didn't get here by herself. There's these bad habits that we have, encouraged and cultivated. But then finally I had to be like, no. And she is figuring it out. But I wanted her to know that you have a safety net. Like, I want you to figure it out, but I do not want you to be in peril, And so the key is really like, it's not easy to set boundaries, but if you set them, they learn to navigate with you differently, like they do. People will learn to navigate with you differently if you're like, hey, like I had a friend ask me to borrow money for the first time and she'd never asked me before. And old Tiffany would have just like been like, oh gosh, I'm going to let borrow, but I'm just scared that this is a new precedent. What do I do? New Tiffany, therapied up Tiffany was like, hey girl, no problem lending you this money. But although I know you've never borrowed before, I don't want to set a precedent that I'm the go-to for you to borrow from. And she said, well, I've never asked. I know you've not asked me that. It's not about, I'm not saying that this is something you're going to do. I just want to make it clear that it would make me uncomfortable, that I don't mind doing this. I expect that you're going to pay me back, like you said, but also too, I expect that this is not going to become, we've been friends for a very, very, very long time. And I don't want this to become the norm. Like we've broken the seal. I could tell that she was slightly offended and I understood, why she would be. But I also know that I needed to set the boundary because I don't know where this is going. We talked about it like a couple times after and we both come to like an easy like peace about it. Like, because I don't want that to be like, well, girl, Tiffany got it. And so I'm glad I set the boundary and I'm glad we talked about it and we're still like super good friends, and she understood where I was coming from and I understood where she was coming from because it wasn't like she had any habit of this with me, but I've seen the habit with other people. That's why I said what I said. So like, I just think it's going to be, dear sister, you're going to have to set a clear boundary, live up to that boundary. You might have to say it a couple of times. Your sister will learn that you're not the 1, the 2, or the 3, and she'll move on to someplace else. It sounds like maybe your parents have said no, and that's why she's coming to you. And then you could also create that safety net and say, don't be hungry, don't be homeless. You guys can always eat here or whatever. You guys can always stay with me or whatever that is. Like set that kind of like that lowest basis point, but then let her figure it out or she will never figure it out. Especially, it's one thing if you had a sister who was like, like didn't make good money. You know what I mean? Like to hear that, like you make plenty and you're just making bad choices. Oh no. It's one thing if you were like in an abusive relationship, your best friend was in an abusive relationship and fled her husband. Now that's different. And you're like, girl, I got you. Bring the kids here. We're going to figure it out. But just, I'm going to help you out because you're mismanaging your money. No. Set that boundary, create the baseline of don't be hungry or homeless, and let it go. She's grown.
Let it go. It might be a little awkward in the meantime. Like, Tiffany, you went through that awkward thing with your friend just like, in the beginning. But people are always going to act some type of way when you say no and you set that boundary. And I think the part that we use boundaries like a throwaway word now, but it's going to come at the cost of that moment, that space of discomfort for you and for the person who's asking you for something and wants to breach your boundary.
Yeah.
And for them to hear no, like my, really good friend of mine recently found a toxic friend, had a toxic friend who I knew they were toxic because I can smell y'all's miles away. And I just don't even. And I told her that's bad news. But I backed it up. I was like, she's going to learn. A year later, she's like, I think it's time to cut this person out. And I'm like, And as soon as she did, the texts start coming in, the calls, the name calling, that immediate reaction to you setting that boundary. And as a person who I've had to deal with my own family, like a sibling of mine, who I had to really set a hard boundary. And for me, that boundary was like no further communication, until I can trust you again. There's a cost there. It's painful. It makes holidays a little awkward, but I think you have to put yourself first and remind yourself what your goals are. And it's okay if someone else is frustrated, put out, inconvenienced, if they have to struggle a little bit because of a choice you made for your own self. Welcome to just being a human. At certain points, we have to make those tough calls. And it's like Tiff said, maybe it's, if it's money, that becomes a Band-Aid. And it does sound like maybe your parents have started saying no, or they're not able to give what she needs. So she's even gotten more. Plus she has a spouse too. I'm like, is a spouse, does he know, or does she know, or they know about this? Like there's deeper things going on, but how else might you be able to help? Like if it's not advice, because I don't think she wants that from you. Maybe it's, if you want me to babysit for free while you get a second job or Uber so that you can, or go on some interviews, like how can you support her in other ways to show that you still love her? But it's really dangerous to set that precedent of, okay, I'm going to say yes this time. And certainly if you actually need them to pay you back, I really wouldn't lend that money because I just feel like friends and family, you're not going to be at the top of the list when it comes to paying the bills back, So with me, if I was ever giving money I made an early rule when I was younger, that if I was going to lend anyone money, I wasn't going to be lending it. I was going to give it. And I was going to tell them so. Like, this is a gift. I don't want it back. And if you're not comfortable doing that, I would say the answer's got to be no. And you can literally tell her exactly what you told us. I've worked really hard to get where I am and I don't have a partner. I don't have a second source of income. I need to be doubly sure that I can support myself if something were to happen. And I know that you love me and you'll probably understand this. So this is why I have to say I can't help you in this way, but maybe there's other ways I can help. And I stole that little mini script from my therapist because she gave me that language when a family relative came to me last year for like a lot of money. And she was like, you can tell her, I love you. I want to help you, but I can't help you in this specific way. Is there something else that we can, talk about? And it's up to them to decide what they want to do with that.
And don't expect, sometimes I think that we are like trying to figure out how to do the hard work and for it to feel good and easy. Like, well, it's not feeling good. So maybe we're doing something wrong. And it's like, no, actually, it's like, I got my eyebrows waxed today. It's supposed to sting a little. That's how it goes.
Well, they do look good.
I don't know. But I'm just saying that, like, so that's the thing. It's that I want us, it's just in general, especially if you talk about money and career changes and all things we talk about here, I want to normalize that there are moments of discomfort that ought to be uncomfortable. Like, it's not because you did anything wrong. That's just what it looks like. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so like when you realize like, oh, I'm going to have this conversation with my sister and it's going to be awkward and it's going to feel uncomfortable and I'm going to feel bad about it. That's part of it. And that's okay. So, don't think like you feeling bad means something is wrong. No, you feeling bad is that you're a human being, period. Right. And so just like keep that in mind that like there is no easy way to tell someone you super love, I can't give you money. They're just not. you know? And so you're
Yeah.
just going to say it to the best of your ability. You might have to tell her a couple of times and eventually she'll get it.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to feel good.
Yeah.
Especially not waxing. I went and got waxed before my vacation and I was like, wow.
I've never gotten wax. I've never gotten waxed down there.
You know, you're not missing out, but I will say the results are everything.
That's what people say.
Maybe that's why I felt so hot in my bikini on vacation.
I'm scared. I don't know if because the eyebrow is already like, girl, woo, I got to get myself together. So I can't imagine. I feel like
get in there,
girl, I feel like I'm liable to pass gas.
I was afraid I was going to go into preterm labor. I was like, should I have Googled this? Maybe this is going to be triggering.
I feel like that lady's going to get a face full of fart because I'll just be so like, oh my God.
They've seen it all. You just have to like imagine, I got a girl for you. Her name's Chantel. You come up to Worcester. I'll hook you up. European Wax Center.
I'm scared. I don't know. I feel like maybe once in my life I'm going to do it, but I'm so terrified of like the pain, child. So, we got to work our way up. Remember, just when we first started doing Brown Ambition, I was still wearing pack panties. Remember? I mean, now we've elevated.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me where you came from.
I remember, baby. We slowly but surely. So we got to work our way up. So yeah. Sorry, dear sister. We went from like, girl, tell your sister to us do a sister girl talk. But let us know how it goes. And we hope for the best.
Yes, I genuinely want an update on this one. Please, dear sister, please send us an update.
Yeah, so when you send us an update, just say, it's me, dear sister, so we know it's you.
I hope that we got to you in time.
Yes.
Okay.
I know.
All right, BA fam. Well, again, you can hit us up anytime you want to with your questions. You can go to our IG. We are at Brown Ambition Podcast on Insta. You can also email us, brownambitionpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to be an in-person guest on the show, send us a voice message on IG and you may hear from our producer to invite you to the stew. Mm-hmm. That's what Tiffany told me to call it. The stew.
All right, y'all. Until next week. Bye.
See you next week.
Hey, BA fam. We're on YouTube. Woohoo! Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
And while you're at it, why don't you go over to that little bell icon and just tap that for us. Show the BA fam how much you love us. And that way you'll also get notifications when new videos drop. Also, share the channel with a friend. We're always like, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And thank y'all so much again for all the support.